I can't change anybody, but I could change the environment that I'm around. You know, I'm all about right now just mentally being peaceful, you know, being grounded. I don't like chaos. You know, of course, it's inevitable. It could happen. But I feel for the most part, if you can put yourself in situations where it's not in your day-to-day basis, then that's great. You know, some people, they complain like, oh, my life's hard, but this and that. Okay, well, why don't you sit down and see what you're doing, the people that you're around, what habits are you doing? You know, you want to lose weight. Okay. Why are you drinking every weekend? You know, you want to eat healthy. Okay. You eat healthy one day and then you're eating out the next day. I also say that because I was also one of those people that were making excuses. I wanted this, but then I was doing that. You know, being older and seeing all this stuff, it's like, if you want something, regardless of what it is, you will make a way. No matter how hard it is, you're going to make a way. You're not going to make excuses and you're going to do it.
Some people fight for fame, some people fight for money, but very few fight for something bigger than themselves. Welcome back to another episode of High Value Discussions. In this episode, I'm honored to sit with someone who embodies the true definition of a high quality and durable woman. My guest is a well-rounded combative fighter. She is also a mother, a college graduate, a coach, an athlete, and a God-fearing woman. She fights out of Fightcraft Martial Arts in San Jose, California. But the fight didn't start there. Her real battles, they began long before the ring. Her life is a testimony of discipline, of faith, of enduring pain, pressure, and expectations, and still choosing to move forward. She is an individual who had walked through hell, but with God by her side, she came out sharper, stronger, more grounded than ever. In this episode, we talk about what it means to be a high-value woman in a brutal sport. We talk about what it takes to raise a child and chase a dream. We also talk about how faith can be your armor when life tries to break you. This isn't just about combat sports. This is about perseverance, sacrifice, and living life that demands your best, even when no one's watching. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Veronica Mendoza.
Actually, I would have never thought I would be here. As far as even fighting, my sport was soccer. I loved soccer. I played that for like 9 years. My goal was to be a professional soccer player, you know. But however, my mother, she wanted me to be in a sport year round. That was the number one rule in our household. Like, do whatever you want, have good grades, but you need to be in a sport. Whether tennis, golf, you need to be active, you know. That was her way to just always keep us busy outside of school, not have any loose time to get into any drama or anything. So I was 11 years old and my cousins were actually in Kaju Kempo karate. And I was like, Mom, I do not want to do this. You know, like, no, I like kicking the ball. I like soccer, you know, I was really good at it. It was fast. I was forward, defense. I loved it. And she was like, no, you need to be in a sport. And she's like, you're a female. You need to learn how to defend yourself, you know. And I was like, okay. So our goal, or not our goal, I shouldn't say, we made a bet. She said, you have to try it for a month. Each class you do, I'll give you $5. And I was like, well, dang, you know, I'm 11 years old, $5, that adds up. Okay. So we did it. And at the end of the month, I really enjoyed it. You know, I did. And I was like, oh, Mom, I was like, so do I get the $5? She was like, no. And I was like, what? And I was like, why? She's like, because you like it. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I ended up sticking with that for a couple years. And then we did what was called a pancration. You know, we're underage. So it's basically like a whole fight, just no face shots. And I did my first one and I loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I get to punch people, kick people and not get in trouble. Like what? And mind you, like, yes, I fight, but I'm not confrontational at all. I hate it. I don't like fighting like outside of the gym.
Yeah.
But I also think that goes into being in karate. You know, my Sifu, he always told us like, we do not fight outside of the gym. You know, it's a respect thing. You leave everything on the mats. Yeah. Other than that, we always had like a 3 rule. Like if someone ever approaches you, you tell them like 3 times, no, I do not want to fight. After the 3rd time, then that becomes self-defense. If they do come, you know, and approach you that way. So yeah, moving forward, I did not like to fight at all. But I enjoyed it. You know, I did jiu-jitsu. I have background in wrestling. I wrestled in high school, all throughout high school. Kaju Kempo. What else have I done? Taekwondo. Now we have a system. It's called, oh my gosh, what is the system? We switched actually.
The gyms, right? The gym name or something like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm now at Fightcraft. I've been with them for almost 8 years now. Yeah, so Josh, my head coach, he actually took me under his wing when I was 19. Funny story, we always talk about this. So the very first time we met, it was like the most awkwardest thing ever. So my uncle actually knew him, and he introduced me to him. He's like, oh, I have my niece. I want you to maybe hold pads for her. Like she wants to fight and compete. And so we were in my uncle's garage, and like he held pads for me, but it was just like so awkward. Like, I didn't know this man at all. It's the first time I met him. Like he was throwing combos at me. I didn't even know what I was throwing. I was just messing up, and I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to see him again. He's like, she's horrible. But moving forward after that, that was just like the start of our journey. And he's just taken me under his wing. He's been amazing. I always say like, he's not my coach. He's my family. And then we also have my coach, Pat. We were actually training partners. So it's honestly awesome to see like us being training partners. And now that he's my coach, he wraps my hands, he gets my fights ready for me, does all the above, so Fightcraft is not a gym to me. It's more of a family.
That's the one thing that I miss about fighting is the community. It's funny how they are family, but that family still doesn't want you to see you get hurt.
Yes.
Isn't that a weird balance?
Yes, it is. It is. But yeah, oh my God, I have so much love for Fightcraft. Josh and Pat, they've given so much to me, their energy, their time, I'm now coaching, and that's an amazing thing for me. Like I'm not only gaining this knowledge from them, but I'm also able to give it back to the community. I teach the kids classes there. I've taught in the beginners class, and it's just awesome. My teammates, some of them, they're like, oh, hey, Coach V, I'm like, oh, dang, but you don't have to call me Coach V. I'm just Vern, they call me Vern for short. So it's great, that Fightcraft is an amazing gym to be. We always support one another. Even if like you don't compete or anything, there's always teammates there that are going to go and support you at your fights. And, you should know too, like fighting, that's the most amazing thing, seeing your support system there.
Agreed. Since you've been around the fight game for so long, it's very, very fulfilling, and it gives you like this weird level of uncommon confidence that you cannot explain.
If I'm being honest, I didn't think that I was going to ever compete again. So when I met Josh, I was going to go into my second MMA fight. I had my first one. I lost. I actually fought against Stacey Moran, the one who I just fought for Fight Night 3. I lost to that one, and then I ended up switching over gyms, met with Josh. We did another MMA fight, and I lost. And I was like, okay, you know what? We need to, tighten the ropes on some things. And so I took some time, and then I ended up having a knee injury. I ended up straining my LCL, pulling my patella tendon. I was out for 8 months. Then COVID hit, and then I ended up getting pregnant. So it was just like, one hurdle over another. And after, honestly, having the news of being pregnant, like fighting, that was just like, non-existent anymore. I was like, yeah, there's no way like I'm gonna be able to do this anymore. Like I kind of accepted. I went through like a depression state. I really did, because fighting has been like so much of like my life, not only like just competing, but just training. That was just like part of me. People are like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I train. Like that's just something that I love to do. And to like know that that's possibly gonna be stripped from you was very like dehumanizing. I was like, oh geez, and like finding out like, how am I going to take care of a kid? Like, I was 22. I'm like, okay, I'm not a teenager. I'm not young, but I'm pretty young, let alone I honestly, I love my daughter. I love her. I didn't want kids. I did not want kids. No. But you know what? I like to say, God has a plan. He has a plan. He's like, oh, really? You didn't want any kids? Well, here you go, But yeah, so I had my daughter, and then, so it was in 2021. 2021 was actually a really, really hard year for me.
Do you recognize that, like what you dealt with and what you like the tests that you passed nearly?
Yeah, honestly, I forget. I honestly do forget. And then sometimes, like especially like, oh my gosh, the last weight cut for Fight Night. I was just like dying. This was like the lowest weight I had been since I had my daughter. And I was just like trying to shed this weight, and I was like, oh, I can't do it. And then I was like, you got to remember like what you've been through, like mentally, because at the end of the day, fighting, it's a lot, like 90% I would say is mental, and I was just like, dang, so kind of going back to 2021, I had my daughter, And then COVID affected my mom really bad. And so my mom has a chronic illness and she's more susceptible to getting really sick. I got the call. She was in the ER, she was in the ER for about a week. They said that she had bronchitis. I'm sorry, it wasn't bronchitis. What was it? Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. Ammonia. I'm sorry. Yes, my mom, she had ammonia. And she ended up getting released, thankfully, but she got released with an oxygen tank. And that was like, whoa, like seeing my mom, like mom's very strong, like mentally, she's just very strong. She's always on the go. And just seeing her like that, you know, not being herself, like I said, she's very strong. Like she was released 2 days before the hospital and she's like, no, you know what? I need to go grocery shopping. I was like, Mom, you just got out. You need to sit down. She's like, no, Veronica, take me. We're going to walk down the aisle. And she's over here with her oxygen tank. I was like, this woman, nothing will break her, you know? So that's, you know, that's amazing to see. But she ended up, you know, thankfully healing after that. And then my dad got sick. And mind you, my dad's never been sick in his life. He maybe had like a little cold or anything, but he was actually on life support. He was in the hospital for a month. You know, this is all like while I'm like 7 months pregnant, mind you. Dealing with trying to get my mom, you know, to her doctor's appointment, taking care of my little brother, trying not to stress that I'm pregnant because I'm like hearing like, oh my God, if you stress out the baby. I ended up having to go on leave early because of my stress levels because my doctor didn't want me to go into labor early. My dad, thankfully, you know, he woke up. They tried to wake him up twice and he didn't. And like the third time he woke up. There was 2 other people who were in the same state of him and they didn't wake up, you know, and it was just like, you know, it was a very emotional time, very emotional. And then after that, when my dad woke up, my Nina, my Tia, she got COVID and she was in the hospital and we get a call at, I believe, 4 a.m. that I get emotional when I talk about this, but that she passed. So that was really hard to deal with. So as that was going, we were planning her funeral. I was talking to my dad on the tablet, you know, because he still wasn't released. He had woken up and we're planning his funeral. And then a week later, I have to start San Jose State University. And I was like, oh, and then I have my daughter the first week of school. And I was just like,
oh my God.
Woo! I was like, okay. I was asking, like, what does this mean? Why am I going through this? It was just like one thing after another. So I want to say 2021 has really changed me to the point where life is very short, you know, and just to not take things for granted. You know, like I said, for fighting, it was so out of reach. And I kind of like got to the point where like, you know what, this is something that I really love. And if I want to do something, then I'm going to do it. Like I was told, you know, I took a year off for college. Like, oh, you're not going to finish. You took a year off. Okay, really? Like I love to beat the odds. I went back, I graduated, you know, I had my daughter. People were like, oh, you know, you're never going to fight again. You can't do it. Okay, really? And then, you know, now I'm fighting again. So like I said, I want to say motherhood too. It's honestly, it's tested me, but it's also shown me to keep on, you know, have perseverance and keep striving, you know, because I need to have my daughter, I feel like she needs to have a role model and to not let whatever odds are against you, not let it define you, you know, not let it break you down. Like, okay, things are hard. Life is hard, but that's life. You know, my kind of mentality is like, it's a little rough, but like, are you going to sit there and cry about it, you know, or are you going to like, you know, wipe your tears, you know, cry a little bit, wipe your tears, put your shoes on and keep moving forward.
Exactly. And you did say one of the most difficult things about fighting was the consistency. Yeah. And one of the marks to leave your daughter is to be consistent. So it's nice when she's very young and she's still, you know, learning as she goes, obviously. But the thing is, when she gets older, she gets to see all the phases of your life and be like, man, my mom was just consistent. She was consistent in the way she cared and loved for me. She was consistent in her craft. That's a very big compliment. Because you want to be consistent in everything that you do. If you have a business, you want to be consistent. If you're married or in a relationship, you want to be consistent. Even like the love for your family, you just want to be consistent. Love for your daughter, you just want to be consistent. So the fact that she can even just say that out loud is a very big, big blessing. One thing that fighting does, it gives you, like I said, that confidence, but you really get to analyze all the levels of suffering that you went through. And it's almost like, does it kind of give you that reminder going forward, whether it be next week, 3 months, 2 years from now, that something may pop up, but then you kind of reflect a little bit, you know what, I went through hell. Yeah. And it's almost like, it kind of mentally prepares you. It's like, I could almost get through everything, even though it's going to sting like hell, but I'll still get through it.
Yeah.
Do you think about that a lot?
Yeah, I definitely do. And, building my relationship closer with God, I know that He will never put you through these storms that you're not capable of going through. My last fight camp, that was a very, like a spiritual warfare, I want to say I was going through. I was arguing like crazy with my parents. Like, it was just very ugly. My relationship with my coaches were very ugly. And so my last post, that's why I was saying, like, I don't like to post too much about like personal life, of course, on social media, but like through all of it, I apologized. I took, responsibility and accountability for my actions, and they were still there. They were still there. They loved me. My coaches were like, you know what? Like, we know things happen, but we still have a fight to do. We still have a little bit of time. And I was like, that was just so eye-opening, to know that there is going to be people, especially in fighting, that we like to say are opportunists, only want to be around you for things in return for them. And then there's just truly genuine people. My parents, genuinely, they want to see me and my daughter succeed. And they're so great on supporting me for me to train and then, watch my daughter. And then my coaches too, they don't want anything from me, but just to help me succeed. And I just love them for that.
When you also said beating the odds, it's kind of funny. You're a college graduate.
Yes.
You're a very beautiful woman.
Thank you.
Do you kind of get those questions sometimes like, V, what are you doing? You're fighting?
Yes, I do. All the time, they're like, wait, you fight? I'm like, yeah, but I mean, I feel like, isn't that like the kind of goal? Like, you don't want to look like a fighter, right? Like I said, I'm not confrontational at all. Like, if anything, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, or if they, their actions, I'm like, hey, I'll put myself in there. She's like, well, I see why they're like this. Yeah. However, if it comes to family, then that's just like a no-go. Like, okay, especially my little brother. Oh my gosh. Like, we're 9 years apart, but that we call each other, that's my twin.
He's tall as hell.
That's my twin. Oh yes. He's only 17 and he's like 6'2.5", and he's not done. He's not done.
Shout out.
Yeah, it's my little big brother. But yeah, especially with my daughter. Other than that, like, people, they may get under your skin, and I'm just like, oh, okay, whatever. Maybe let's pray for you. I honestly, I don't like it, but however, I have that switch. When we're in the ring, handle business, and then when the bell's over, switch is off. Yeah. Always give respect to your opponents, because at the end of the day, it is hard. Stepping in there, like, exactly what we talked about earlier. Like, what it is to go through, a fight camp. The struggle of the fatigued body. The nutrition, always sore. And the weight cut, thinking like, oh, that's hard. Yes, it's hard, but then it's like the fight, the pressure, people are watching you, family's watching you, everyone wants you to win. It's like a 50-50. You could either win or lose. And so I always, regardless, win or lose, I respect all my opponents. Just thank you for even, stepping in the ring for me, with me.
It's hard to navigate that when it comes to the fighter mentality and how you actually see your opponent and how you view them. Some people, they're like, I just see red and I just want to kill this person. It's like, damn, dude, okay. Some people take it more on martial artist perspective, where it's like, we're just here to compete. This is just for our career. But at the same time, if this person beats you, that puts a halt on your progression in your career. For
me, I would like to say, I always try to make sure that I'm doing the best I can for my fight camp. I don't ever want it to be buts, ands, and ifs. Dang, I should have done more cardio this one. No, I'm going to, bust my ass, do as many reps, cardio, I need more jiu-jitsu. No, I'm going to do as much jiu-jitsu as I can possibly. But when it comes to the ring, yeah, of course, nobody wants to lose, right? Nobody. But however, even when I do win, the first thing I do when I go back to the locker room with my coach, I sit down, what could I do better? What is something that I could have done better? Because there's, it's always a learning process. And so if, losing too, I've lost, I just take it as a lesson, not so much dang, I lost, I'm a loser. That's not poor sportsmanship, but it's okay, you know what? Sometimes things don't go your way. When it comes to fighting, each fighter has a game plan with their coaches, right? And it just comes down to, I feel like the one who ends up winning is the one who executed the game plan the best. But we've all had our share of losses. It sucks, you know, it really can, but I feel like you shouldn't be stuck in the mud and stay there. Because then that kind of just shows your personality, how you are. Like, you really going to let this loss like break you down that bad? Or are you going to take like, okay, you know what? I got a loss, but you know, I'm going to be back in the gym and keep working.
You know how I was talking about fighting, how it gives you like a level of confidence within our circle too. That could either be detrimental or say powerful, where everybody's telling you you're so great all the time. Everybody's telling you nobody's going to beat you. Everybody's going to tell you like, oh, you're unstoppable, you're unbeatable, yada, yada. Sometimes people believe that. They believe in their own noise. They believe in their own hype, but it's very important in this sport to stay grounded. Take the compliment, but don't get married to it. You know, like take it like, hey, love
don't get
it,
a big
appreciate
head.
it. Yeah.
You know, God will humble you. Yeah.
So how do you navigate that? Because I am sure you're getting those compliments.
You know what? I do, but honestly, I'm very modest. You know, I'm a perfectionist. I will say that I'm a very big perfectionist. And when people are like, oh, you're so good. And like, it's not even to be like, oh, you know, to be like flattered. Like, no, I'm not good. Like, yeah, but you know, I'm a little slow in this area. I could be better, you know? And that's just me, like mentally, like knowing that I could be better. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment, but I don't ever let it get to my head.
Yeah.
You know, I think that everybody, especially in martial arts, you know, there's always room for growth. Always, you know, of course, you know, there's martial arts that are just amazing. You know, I am obviously not the same person I was when I was 19, when I was first joining. Obviously, I've gotten a lot better, but I know that I can be better.
I know my coach too. He was very stoic. I don't call him my coach. He's my mentor. He was very stoic, and especially when we would win, he would like look at me as if like he didn't really care.
Oh, okay.
Like, he could care less. You know what he would tell me? He was like, act like you've been here before. Act like you've won before.
Okay.
Don't get all crazy. Don't get all like high and mighty. He's like, act like you've been here before.
I like that. I
was
really like that.
I don't want to say the word strict, just very grounded. And he reminded you too to stay grounded, because he's like, you can lose it all tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can lose it all right now. He's like, just be mindful. Like, be very grateful for this victory. You know, thank God that you came out unscathed, but act like you've been here before. You need some of those people who critique you. You know, technically critique you is very, very important. I had coaches in the past, in the beginning of my career, where it was just yes men all the time. I had teammates in the past too, where it was just yes men all the time. Friends, yes men all the time. It was a very big halt in progress, because sometimes I just believed it. I really, really believed it back then, especially when I was young, because I've been in the game since I was 15. Wow. So listening to all that stuff, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I am good. Yeah, everything's fine.
But I mean, it feels good, right?
For sure.
To see like all your hard work and like, dang, like it doesn't go unnoticed. It does, you know? And like, I always say like, oh, thank you so much, but we could do better. Yeah. We can keep moving forward, you know?
And even with everything else, like everything that I'm doing now, it's the same thing.
Consistency.
Going back. That's like our word for the podcast.
That should be the label.
That's going to be the thumbnail. So I actually have another question on you. Like I used to study the sport so much. I would eat, sleep, train, and watch everything. Listen to every single interview. I would love watching athletes, especially people in my weight class. Are there particular athletes that you like to say study or implement?
Well, I do like to watch a lot of film, right? I'm such a fan of Rose Namajunas. I love the way she is. I love how humble she is. I honestly just love it. You know, there was one fight where Joe Rogan was talking to her. She had just won the belt, and she was saying, you know, just everybody just needs to be nice. You know, you need to be nicer. You know, we're here as martial artists, but just be nice. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, she didn't get a big head about it. She was literally the champion. She just got the belt, you know. And I just love her footwork. You know, we're really big on footwork. We switch stances a lot. I'm actually a lefty. But going into karate, we only did one stance. So it was ortho. So going in with Fightcraft, we switched stances. I was like, oh, okay, we're southpaw. And I just love her footwork. So she's super light on her feet. You never know what she's going to throw. It's like almost like watching her is like watching chess. Yeah. You know, I love her. I also love TJ Dillashaw, the way he moves.
That was my guy.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. He's a former wrestler too. You know, I love the way his striking goes into his takedowns. We were part of Bang Muay Thai, which is his system that he does, and we kind of like branched off, but we still do a lot of the concepts like that. And I love it. You seen like the combos that we're learning, and then seeing him actually like hitting it in fights. I'm like, whoa, that's insane.
Like the drills repetitive over and over again. It just gets, and when it gets implemented in the fight, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel that flow now in the fight? Because in the beginning of our careers, we are so tense. When I saw your fight at the fight night, you did look at flow. You looked like you were peaceful. Like it was like you were moving, you were just kind of picking your shots. You weren't like overly aggressive where you were putting yourself in a vulnerable position where you may get caught.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I like to see when somebody's at flow. When somebody's just bull rushing and there's no technique behind it, I'm like, hey brother, like take some time and put yourself in the gym a little bit longer. And like, you know, don't rush in there. That's because it's hard. It's a rough game.
Then that's more likely for you to get caught too, you know? You're like really lead leg heavy, just are throwing like haymakers wide, your hands are just dropped. I will say my style, I'm more of a technical fighter. You know, like you mentioned, you know, just implementing the combos. So we have a system, and the way we like to describe it is like building blocks, right? So we'll have like our jab, and then we'll have our jab cross, and then we'll do a jab and a cross to the body, just building up. And so we're so repetitive. We do like the same stuff where my coach, he likes to think of it like, okay, I'm playing a video game when we're fighting. So I'm calling stuff out and you're going to do it. And so more and more working with them, obviously, you know, you get like the jitters and stuff, you know, being on stage, but the more and more you compete and the more I feel like you have a close relationship with your coach and you trust them, the more relaxed you're going to be for the fight. And I want to say this was the most relaxed in like fight that I've had. I want to say also I was just really grounded and I prayed very, very hard for that fight. I prayed to the point where I was like, you know what, God, whatever this decision is, whether I win or lose, I will continue to, you know, have faith in you and keep moving forward. I'm not going to let this, you know, just put me stuck in the mud or anything. So I was really at peace. That was like, honestly, the best word to say. I was at peace in that fight. I felt so good. There was just stuff where I was like moving in there and I just seen it like where we were just practicing, you know, during my fight camp and I threw it, or my coaches were calling something and I threw it. It's a level of trust too with your coaches. That's a really big thing. You need to trust, and your coaches need to trust you as well.
110%.
Because, you know, at the end of the day, you're going into the fight, but they need to trust that you're able to, you know, take care of yourself and defend yourself, being a safety hazard as well.
People would always tell me like I'd probably be a better coach than I was a fighter. And I agree, but it is gut-wrenching because yes, the trust is very important, but it's like, man, this person is trusting me with their life nearly.
Yeah. Yeah. Sign the contract. Yeah.
It's so funny because people used to tell me like, Daniel, it's crazy what you do. I'm like, you're crazy for watching me do it.
Yeah, but you watch it, right? It's entertaining.
I remember one fight I had. I was literally, when they were shouting out my name, I was like walking around the cage and I was like moving and flowing. I was like, dude, I was looking around. I was like, this is insane. I am actually doing this. This is like the new age of the gladiators.
Yes, thank
and
you.
I am
you said
literally
that.
doing
yes.
it. But have you ever gotten to a phase like that? Even when you're in the locker room, they're telling you, V, you're up next. And you're like, oh, it's time to wake up.
Oh,
the
yeah.
walk, the ring, everything.
Yeah, no, yeah. I get told all the time from like my family, like, dang, you're crazy. Like, cousin, you're crazy. You do this? You know, like, I'm like, yeah, and I do it for fun. You know, that's even the crazier thing. I enjoy it. Yeah, of course, you know, like the jitters and everything. I get, to this day, I get nervous. You know, I don't think I'll ever not be nervous for a fight, but I think it's also good to be on your toes, you know? Yeah. You never want to be like too confident, like, oh, I got this. And then you get lazy. That's how you get caught. So it's always good to have those nerves. But I will say, as soon as the bell rings, it's almost like tunnel vision. I don't want to say you see red, not for me, but it's straight tunnel vision where it's just me and my opponent. And I, like my family be like, oh, you didn't hear us? We were calling your name. Like, I didn't hear anybody. I heard my coaches, you know, I didn't hear anybody. I was just locked in, you know, and you have to get locked in. But yeah, it just, the jitters, it's never going to go away, but it's a good thing.
When I see technicians, I'm like, oh, they're at flow. They know what they're doing. There's purpose within every footwork. There's purpose within every movement. Some people throw to just throw, like haymakers, lay and pray, where it's like, I'm just going to put my head down.
Hopefully it lands.
Hopefully it lands. It's like, to me, that's just not a technician. Yes, if you're a knockout artist and you got that big old right hand, great, or left hand, etc. Yeah. But the technicians, when they know what they're doing, it's beautiful to see. When I saw you fight at the fight night, I was just like, God, it's maturity.
Yeah.
When I saw my other teammate compete that night as well, I was like, maturity. Like that's a very, very big important thing when it comes to a fight, because it is so easy to get emotional in there.
Yeah.
You know, it's so easy to
Definitely.
get hit with something, and then you know what? Let me get this back.
Mm-hmm.
GSP lost his belt because of that, where Matt Serra knocked him out, well, dropped him, and then GSP thought, oh, I need to get it back. I need to hit him just as hard as he hit me, and then it cost him his championship belt. So sometimes you just got to stay mature and grounded in there, which is kind of hard to do. And
Oh, yeah.
you said you're not confrontational. Have you ever had an opponent where they wanted to just start shit with you, either on social media and face to face?
Luckily, no, I haven't. I haven't encountered that, but you know, being in the fight game, I know I'm gonna come across it. I know one day it will happen, but at the end of the day, like I said, I'm not confrontational. I'm just gonna let that, you know, go ahead, let her talk, whatever, and we'll just handle it in the ring. I don't
Yeah.
like to go back and forth, social media. I like to just, I'm a martial artist, you know,
Yes.
I like to just handle it in the ring. And after that, good sportsmanship, I'll give you a hug. If you know, you decide to have some type of animosity, and that's something that you need to deal with. You know, I'm
That's a you
fine.
problem.
Yeah, that's a you problem.
Even this too, us being martial artists, we focus so heavily on the fight game, just the fight game. We want to excel in our career, etc. And something that Dana White pointed out to a couple years ago, where he said, fighting is not a career, it's an opportunity. And something that you're starting to see now due to the social media age is
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of business, the attention business, the entertainment business. I see that as a positive and a negative, because I would say GSP used his, not his marketing, but him as an individual, as a martial artist, and he thrived and excelled. He didn't try to change characters for anybody. He was just like, look, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm a respectful man. And
We love that.
And we love that.
Yeah.
But there's also this other side where a Kobe Covington has to become a character for him to keep his job. We're not just in the fight business. This is the attention business as well. I feel like every fighter, they have their jiu-jitsu coach. They have their wrestling coach, boxing coach, Muay Thai, kickboxing, everything. They also need a coach when it comes to business, marketing, sales, everything. Even though it's so annoying, because it's like, I didn't sign up for that. I signed up to be a fighter. I want to be a world champion. I am not a marketer. How do you feel about that? How social media is being used either as a positive in the fight game or a negative?
Well, I see that with a lot of like fighters, you know, where you see them in the ring, you see them training, and it's just so much respect to them. Like they're amazing. And then social media, of course, it plays a part. But I also feel like they know how to work social media because it's a business. And unfortunately, they kind of have to act a different character in order to, you know, get, let's say, sponsors or more people to like them, whether it's them playing the good guy or the bad guy, which, you know, it's unfortunate. And that's one thing that I always want to do is just stay true to myself, regardless, you know, if it doesn't get likes, if it does, I don't ever want to change, you know. I know it's easier said than done, but I also have my mother's, you know, just like, Vern, you know, let's stay grounded. I'm like, you know what? No, you're right. Yeah, let's go. But yeah, you know, like a lot of the times, especially, you know, female fighters, you know, I see them going to OnlyFans. I'm like, oh, you know,
Even during their careers while they're still in it.
yeah, like I know it's a business, right? You're making money, but I'm just like, oh my God. And then for me too, like I see it, like I'm a mother at that, you know, I'm looking down the line, like, do I really want my daughter to be seeing that I have an OnlyFans account? You know, like I would never, ever. And that goes into like parenthood too. Like every decision that I've made once I've had her has been to set her up, you know, going after graduating, I actually had an internship in Elmwood, and I was looking into being a rehabilitation officer. And I was like, okay, but the hours were like very long hours. And I was like thinking, okay, do I really just want to have her in daycare? For one, I don't like daycares at all. I only trust her with 4 people, or I count like 5 people on one hand, and it's my parents and her grandparents. That's about it. I just don't trust anybody at all. And let alone if I'm going to be working these long hours, I'm not going to have enough time with her. I see people like their patience get thin with, you know, kids. And then I was thinking about being a cop. You know, I really, really wanted to be a cop. And I honestly had to sit down. I like to say, take a seat, and had a realistic conversation with myself saying, you know, do I really want to gamble coming home in a body bag to my daughter? You know? I'm the only active parent that she has. Thankfully, she has, 4 amazing grandparents, but at the end of the day, she's my responsibility. My parents help me out so much, and I'm grateful for that. My mom's like, oh, like I'll take her this night, you get some sleep. I know you're in fight camp. I appreciate her so much, but at the end of the day, I'm her parent. No matter how tired I am after, 4+ hours of training, who am I to say, no, I don't want to play with you because I'm tired? Telling a 3-year-old that, she's like, Mom, can you play with me? Can we go outside and jump? Of course, my back is hurting, I can't feel my arms, but of course, yes, we're going to go, so that's another thing I want to say. It's being a parent is all about stepping up to the plate, and it's no longer about you. It's about the child, about them, because I feel like a lot of people, they wear masks. Yeah. And it's, I want to say sometimes it's more of being accepted into certain environments, certain communities, wanting to be liked. And for me, I don't really care about being liked. At the end of the day, I feel if you're true to yourself, the right people are going to gravitate to you. I'd rather have 1 or 2 amazing people in my support system than 10 that are just, wearing masks. Just tell me what I want to hear. Relationships at that. Family, friends who I thought were never going to, switch up or change. But at the end of the day, you could love them from a distance, but just respectfully, like, I don't want to be around you. Yeah. You are a person that I don't want my daughter around, that I don't want to be around. Nothing towards you. Like, I can't change anybody, but I could change the environment that I'm around. I'm all about right now just mentally being peaceful, being grounded. I don't like chaos. Of course, it's inevitable. It could happen. But I feel for the most part, if you can put yourself in situations where it's not in your day-to-day basis, then that's great. Some people, they complain like, oh, my life's hard, this and that. Okay, well, why don't you sit down and see what you're doing, the people that you're around, what habits are you doing? You want to lose weight. Okay. Why are you drinking every weekend? You want to eat healthy. Okay. You eat healthy one day and then you're eating out the next day. I also say that because I was also one of those people that were making excuses. I wanted this, but then I was doing that. Being older and seeing all this stuff. It's like, if you want something, regardless of what it is, you will make a way. No matter how hard it is, you're going to make a way. You're not going to make excuses, and you're going to do it.
Even when it comes to teammates too, like, it's important to make sure you guys are all keeping each other accountable.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron.
Every day when I was at the gym, I get my ass whooped.
Yes.
It was never a good day. It was never a good day.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Speaking about that. Yeah. My fight camp, there was just one day where I had no answer for anything. I was going with one of my male teammates, and I kind of like, for the longest, I had it in my head, like, I'm just not strong enough. I'm a female. They're like stronger. But now looking back, I'm thankful for that. Cause thank you for beating my ass, because when I go with the girl my way, she's not going to beat me. Her punches are not going to hurt this bad, so I'm thankful for that. They shape you. It's out of love. It's tough love, Yeah. It's like, keep your hands up,
I was raised to never put your hands on a woman, ever. And if you ever saw that, you make sure you handle that.
Yes.
It was so funny. I would spar with Brianna Van Buren. She was a former ranked UFC fighter. And I remember when she asked me, like, damn, I need rounds. I was like, okay. I was like, sure. But I'm like, knowing me, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna not drill, but like touch, flow. Yeah. And it was so funny because she got mad at me. She's like, dude, you're holding back. And that is very disrespectful.
Like, hit me.
Exactly. She was like, you need to help me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I need to separate the two. It's a weird balance, right?
It is. It's a sense, I feel like, of just, drilling with intent, right? Yeah. We don't want to just flow or go like light. We like to have like what's called technical sparring, where it's like 90% speed, 10% power, but there's a lot of pressure there, right? Just because we're going light doesn't mean we're going slow, and that plays a big factor. And then there's some times where like we have people who are emotional fighters, where they get hit a little too hard and then they're like, okay, let me get you. And I think it's like, dang, I get hit. Okay, maybe, I was lacking. Didn't have my hands up. Okay, next time I need to do a little better. But yeah, definitely. It's funny too, because, having my teammates, we also have like our friends. Like we're friends outside of the gym, and it's like, dang man, like you hit me really hard. That felt a little, like disrespectful. Like, oh, you didn't do this. I'm like, okay, So I feel like at the end of the day, if you could laugh about it, then that's awesome.
Yes. I know. I would have Russian teammates and broken English. You have to talk to them in broken English, by the way. But yes, brother, we go light. I have fight to March 19th. And it's so funny how they only know one speed. When you spar against different cultures, you're like, oh, there's layers here.
But it's good. I feel like it's good to see that, right? Because it kind of keeps you accountable. Like, okay, I'm kind of slacking in this area. Like, thank you. So like I said, iron sharpens iron.
I genuinely feel like it is the hardest sport. I really do feel it is. And it's so funny. I am always so excited to see what happens after fighting with every single one of you guys, because you guys suffer. Not only suffer, you know how to suffer, meaning you smile. You know what I mean? It's a very good trait to have. It's a very attractive trait, because there's people who suffer and they hate it.
Oh yeah.
They're like, God, why me, God? What's going on? This and that. It's like, man, pray for more of that.
Yeah.
Pray for more suffering. Pray for more adversity. But a lot of people, they shy away from it. And your biggest advantage is you smile through the suffering. You smile through the chaos. You said you didn't like chaos either, but it's good that you smile through it.
Yeah. I feel like you got to be comfortable in the chaos. Honestly, I will say wrestling has been such a big asset to my fighting, because, in wrestling, we would train 5 days a week, 2.5 hours a day. We would then compete on a Saturday. My weight class was 115, so I always had a stacked weight class. I would be lucky if I only had 4 matches a day. I was always doing 5. And so that kind of goes back into like me thinking, like all the stuff that I've been through. I'm like, dang, I've done that. I could do this. I could keep moving forward. This isn't nearly as bad. Like we would weigh in at 6 a.m. We would have an hour to hydrate, to drill. And then here I am going until 9 p.m. doing 5 matches, just dead. Sundays are our only day off, and then back to the gym on Monday. So that honestly really built me mentally too. Kind of like, because nobody who wants to, sign up. Oh yeah, I want to do a weight cut. I want to be dehydrated. None of that. Like I always say, I would never wish that on my worst enemies. Like this sucks, but I love it at the same time. I enjoy it. I really do. I feel like it's honestly shaped me too as being the person I am today outside of the gym.
Like fighting saved my life for sure. The people around that I had during my fight career saved my life without a doubt. I was, weird to say, weasel of a man, I would say. Somebody that I would not want to be. Somebody I would not want my daughter to marry. Oh. I was that guy. And I was just like, man, you need to make adjustments. And I feel like every man should chase that difficulty. And I forced myself to chase that difficulty to the point where I do it still now to this day. Like every day is a training camp.
Yeah.
I have no fight booked, but I live every day as if it's a training camp.
Yeah. And that's great. I feel like you don't have to, do martial arts to compete. It's just a good source of, self-defense. Yeah. Another source of cardio. It's another level of confidence.
Yes.
That was the biggest thing why my mom put me in it, because I'm a female. We're more vulnerable, and me now being a mom, yes, I know how to defend myself, but at the end of the day, if somebody or a man wants to do something, they're going to do it. That's another thing where some people may call me a helicopter mom. I have my bachelor's degree in criminology. I've taken human trafficking classes. I've spoken with guest speakers who have been trafficked, who have been, trafficked from their family, so I have the whole idea, like, I don't trust anyone, family. I don't care if you've been around for years, your friendly kids are around you. I'm sorry. No, I don't have my daughter in daycare or anything like that. And so when she is of age, that's one of the things, she's going to be in martial arts. It's just a great thing to have. Male, female. My brother, he comes in the summer because he's just a stud. His thing is football, but he comes in the summer and he takes, kickboxing classes. I'm like, dude, you should just one time for me, please, just compete. He's just so much strength and so much power, and he doesn't even try.
Wow.
It's just a great thing to have. Just release like the toxins and stuff. Like I feel like if you're having like a bad day, like go punch a bag. Just let it out. Think of it as your boss's face or something. And then I'm just like, It sounds a little crazy,
It's
you know?
peaceful.
It
It's so
sounds
peaceful.
crazy.
You spar on days of sparring, you could have like a terrible day. I remember on sparring days, I
Yeah.
would and I nearly forgot what happened. I'm like, wait, why was I mad earlier?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
super, super weird.
It's at peace.
You know, I'm so nervous to this day to step foot into mats to get that feeling again. Physically, I knew I can do whatever I want. Mentally, I used to think I can do whatever I want. Now I feel like I'm more dangerous than ever. And that scares me because if I step foot on mats or a boxing ring or anything, I feel like I'm going to get that urge. And when I was there at fight night, seeing my teammates compete, being around the environment, I was like, God, it's a high that you just don't, I've never felt it yet. Anything else, I've been in amazing rooms. I've had great opportunities after fighting.
Can I ask, why did you stop?
A concussion,
Oh, okay.
bad concussion.
Yeah, see, and there goes with the safety. Yeah, it's a big thing.
And
Yeah.
this was during training camp. It wasn't even during a fight. I didn't feel like myself. That's what scared me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I felt just not clear-headed. I remember I was sitting down on my couch trying to remember old memories.
Oh, that is scary.
So that's why I was like, that day, sitting, this wasn't even a studio back then. This was just a couch and a TV. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, it's not worth my health.
No, yeah, and that's another thing too. Like for fighting, it's not a long-term thing, right? It's not a long career.
Yeah.
But it is also a place, I feel like, a stepping stone to, kind of start a business, opportunities, I would say. My goal right now, I'm 26. My goal right now is to be in the UFC by the time I'm 30. I have a timeline, but, things don't always go your way. So that's kind of why I'm like over here booking fights. I feel like I need to catch up. I had a lot of time off, hence with my daughter, my parents, COVID and everything, the setbacks. I was graduating and everything. But I also feel like that was God's way. Like, you know what? You were a little young-minded then. You didn't take it as serious. Like I said, I was making excuses when I was younger. And it kind of like carved me and sculpted me into now. Like I just having the mentality. Now I'm just locked in mentality. Everything is just, my life right now is just fighting and my daughter. And I'm okay with that. I enjoy it. I am honestly in the best shape of my life than I was before I had my daughter. And I think that's even amazing at that,
Isn't that a crazy thing?
It is.
Right? When we get older, things get better.
Yes.
It's very well.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait. This is so weird to say. I can't wait to be old.
I seen that. I was like, I've never heard that. I love that. I really do.
Like, I want this hair, but white.
It's going to look good.
My prime, like they always talk about prime. It's like every year is my prime.
Yeah.
Like every month, day, quarter, it's like that's my prime. Like the way I take care of myself, the way I prioritize my wellness and my fitness, it's like that comes first. Because if I don't have that dialed, everything else is just, I'll be fatigued mentally, physically. It's just not going to work.
But it shows too. You really see, people who actually prioritize their health and like how they're just genuinely like more healthier, their energy, like they have just this glow in them. And I feel like it's just more of like a peaceful mind. You're not always so like, I want to say like chaotic, or you may fall into like, some states of like depression and stuff. And so that's why I always try to tell like, anybody like, so I'm a youth intervention specialist. Nice. Right? I work at middle schools with youth, my troubled youth, I love them though. I love them. I do. And going into fighting, I tell them like, you could, actually do something with fighting. You want to get in trouble at school. Instead of that, why don't you come and do like, train? And I've actually had a few of my boys train. And I was like, oh my God, I love that, but I try to tell them like all this stuff that you're going through. Like I tell them like, you're not going to be this age forever. You're not. I know it's hard. You're going through stuff with mom. Dad's not there, but I promise you it's not going to be like this forever. And just keep, having your head up high. I love my kids. I do. They're amazing. Actually, I seen one of my boys at my fight at Fight Night, and he was like, Miss V. They call me Miss V. I was like, oh my gosh, hi. And
you're like,
yeah, I was like, oh dang, you see me like this. I'm always telling them, don't promote violence, Yeah.
It's so weird understanding combat. It makes you not want to pursue it outside of the gym at all. Like me, I'm the same way as you. I am not combative. Like when it comes to outside stuff, I will only do it for emergency purposes only.
Yeah.
And I always had that oath to myself, never fight for free.
Yes.
Never fight for free. Yeah. So But understanding combat gives you that ability to avoid it.
I feel like it's kind of more like, do you really want me to embarrass you right now? Do you know what I could do?
Exactly.
You know, and it's like, you're not even worth it. I feel it goes into like, oh, I have so much to lose.
Yeah.
You know, then just for you to get a reaction out of me. I'm not going to let you do that.
Agreed.
You
Yeah.
know?
Well, V, we are approaching that time since you do have to be out of here soon.
Oh, yes.
So I have 2 more questions for you,
Yeah,
okay?
of course.
So let's say that this is your show, okay? And I was your guest.
Okay.
If you had a question for me, what would that question be?
Ooh, that's a good one. Dang, I wasn't ready for this one. What would you say that just keeps you going, keeps the drive going?
I love how you said that word consistency earlier, because I feel like I want that to be branded on me, and that word discipline. That's what pushes me forward, is just to be consistent. When I was fighting, I was always consistent. My family went on family vacations and they wanted to go do this, they wanted to go do that. I was just consistent. I was like, no, I need to get better. I need to be in the gym. I need to be stuck in the gym. Relationships happen, so on and so forth. Nope, I need to be in the gym. That's my priority number 1.
I love that.
So I was just always consistent in everything that I do. And when I left fighting, that just 10x'd it. So as a man, you need to be consistent. Consistent in business, your relationships, your friendships, your family. You just need to be consistent. That's what pushes me forward, because if I feel like I stop, that's ruining my oath, my own personal oath. Nobody ever told me to do that. That was something that I got instilled in me, branded on me. So if I deviate, that's almost like shooting myself in the foot. And I can't live like that. I cannot live with that. Fighting gave me that intensity as I was getting older. Now it's just 10x'd, which I'm very, very grateful for, because I don't like the word balance. I like the word blending.
Ooh,
so it's like, how do I blend
nice.
all this together? Where it's like, there's time for business, there's time for family, there's time for friends, there is time for all the other things. How do I blend it all together? You know, so I can be consistent in every one of those things. So that's what pushes me forward, is staying consistent.
Can I add on to that question? So speaking of consistency, how do you alter that with, distractions, lust, family, going to family gatherings, unfortunately not being able to make it because you have, let's say, a goal.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
That's not hard. I know that's such a stupid thing to say, because we're on a podcast and you have to make sure you sound so perfect. But it's not, because growing up, I saw men in my life that I did not want to be like. That's why I'm so intensive when it comes to stuff like that too. I know what lust does to you, especially for a man. Like a man's greatest weakness is a woman. Just make sure it's a high quality one. Yes. Lust, distractions, friends go out, this and that. It's so fun to say no. I'm 30 years old. I don't have time to play around anymore. I'm too old to waste time. I want a family. I want to be married. I want to be the man that I didn't get to see growing up. I have to be disciplined. I have to be consistent. And if I go towards those temptations, distractions, yada, yada, that ruins progression. And I'm the man of the house. I cannot afford to even mess up. I can mess up here and there, like when it comes to little things, but there's a difference between messing up and fucking up. Yeah. It's not hard. It's fun passing those tests. I know the devil's trying to, they say that when, when you're so glued to God and you live the principles with God, the devil tries to like push you away and tries to like, hey, come back over here. It's nice over here. It's comfy over here. It's like, no.
Yeah, I truly believe that the devil gives you what you want, but God gives you what you need.
Amen to that. So V, I have one more question for you, okay? You see a lot of success because you study it, you watch it. We get inspired by success all the time, and everybody has their own definition of success. But how would you define success?
I would define it not so much as like winning, all the time, because winning isn't everything. I feel like success is learning how to continue to move forward through the struggles that you've gone through, not letting them, make you stuck in the mud. Being successful is having those struggles, those encounters where it looks like you're not gonna, see the light of day or the end of the tunnel, and just keep striving forward and beating against all odds. I mentioned that earlier. Like I was told a lot like, oh, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. It's like I kind of use that as fuel, like, okay, watch me.
Seeing you perform, it was beautiful to see, because I love seeing people at flow in their craft. It's very, very impressive. And then obviously meeting you here and just get to see the powerful woman that I wasn't surprised that you would be, honestly. And I am not shocked, or will be shocked, when the success comes your way.
Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning in to today's episode. If you got a lot of value out of this, please do me a favor and support our channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Make sure to hit that follow button on Spotify to stay updated with our latest episodes. And if you are listening on Apple Podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you would leave a 5-star rating, followed by with a review. Again, thank you all for the support. Stay loving, stay hungry, and stay excellent.